The neon lights of the city flickered like distant stars as Detective Nyx Obsidian stood outside the dilapidated warehouse, her keen eyes scanning the area for any sign of trouble. Nyx was no stranger to the darker alleys and hidden corners of the metropolis. They were her playground, her hunting ground. "Anything yet, Rune?" Nyx called out to her partner, Detective Rune Sterling, who was busy examining a patch of disturbed earth nearby. Rune, a man of few words but sharp intellect, glanced up from his investigation, his gray eyes reflecting the faint glow of the streetlights. "Nothing concrete, Nyx. Just some footprints leading into the building." Nyx nodded, her mind already piecing together the puzzle. "Let's go inside. There might be something we missed." With caution born from years of experience, Nyx and Rune entered the warehouse, the stale air heavy with the scent of decay. The interior was a maze of crates and shadows, the only illumination coming from the occasional shaft of moonlight that pierced through the broken windows. As they ventured deeper into the gloom, Nyx's senses tingled with anticipation. There was something in the air, a whisper of danger that sent a shiver down her spine. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Well, well, well, look what the cat dragged in." Nyx tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for the holster at her hip. Emerging from the shadows was a figure clad in darkness, his features obscured by the dim light. "Who are you?" Nyx demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The figure stepped forward, revealing himself to be a man of imposing stature, his face twisted into a sardonic grin. "They call me Shade," he replied, his voice dripping with malice. "And you too have stumbled into my domain." Nyx narrowed her eyes, her mind racing as she assessed the situation. "What do you want, Shade?" Shade chuckled, the sound echoing off the walls like the laughter of a madman. "Isn't it obvious, Detective? I want chaos. I want fear. And I want you to suffer." Before Nyx could react, Shade lunged forward with unnatural speed, his movements fluid like smoke. Nyx barely had time to dodge, her training kicking in as she countered his attack with precision. Rune moved to flank Shade, his movements precise and calculated. "You're outnumbered, Shade. Surrender now, and we can end this peacefully." Shade laughed, the sound grating on Nyx's nerves like sandpaper. "Oh, I have no intention of surrendering, Detective. Not when I have so much left to accomplish." With a sudden burst of speed, Shade vanished into the darkness, leaving Nyx and Rune alone in the empty warehouse. Nyx cursed under her breath, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Damn it, he got away." Rune sighed, his expression grim. "We'll catch him, Nyx. We always do." As they made their way back to the precinct, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the air like a bad omen. Shade was out there, somewhere in the shadows, plotting his next move. But Nyx refused to let fear cloud her judgment. She was a detective, a guardian of the night, and she would stop at nothing to bring Shade to justice. The city may be a playground for the wicked, but Nyx Obsidian was its shining light in the darkness, a beacon of hope in a world consumed by shadows. And as long as she drew breath, she would never stop fighting for what was right. The morning sun rose like a golden promise over the city skyline, casting its warm light over the bustling streets below. In the heart of the metropolis, Detective Nyx Obsidian sat at her desk in the precinct, a steaming cup of coffee in hand as she pored over the case files spread out before her. "Any leads on Shade, Nyx?" came a voice from across the room. Nyx looked up to see her colleague, Detective Luna Frost, approaching with a concerned expression. Luna was a fierce ally, her icy demeanor hiding a heart of gold. "Not yet, Luna," Nyx replied, her voice tinged with frustration, "but we're working on it. Shade can't hide forever." Luna nodded, her blue eyes reflecting the determination burning within her. "We'll find him, Nyx. We always do." Just then, the shrill ring of the phone cut through the air, signaling an incoming call. Nyx answered with a sense of urgency, her heart pounding in anticipation. "Detective Obsidian speaking." On the other end of the line was a voice Nix recognized all too well, the gravelly tones sending a chill down her spine. "Detective, we need to talk. Face to face." Nix's grip tightened on the receiver, her mind racing as she weighed her options. Shade was a master of manipulation, his every move calculated to sow chaos and confusion. But Nix was no stranger to danger. If Shade wanted to play games, she was more than willing to play along. "Where and when?" Nix replied, her voice steady despite the uncertainty gnawing at her. There was a pause on the other end of the line, as if Shade was considering his next move. Finally, he spoke, his words dripping with venom. "The old abandoned theater on 5th Street. Midnight. Come alone." Before Nix could respond, the line went dead, leaving her with a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. Midnight at the old theater was a trap, of that she was certain. But Nix was not one to back down from a challenge. If Shade wanted to dance, she would be the one calling the tune. As the hours ticked by, Nix made her preparations, steeling herself for the confrontation that lay ahead. She knew the risks, knew the danger that awaited her in the darkness. But she also knew that she was the only one who could stop Shade, the only one who could bring him to justice once and for all. And so, as the clock struck midnight and the city slept soundly in ignorance, Detective Nix Obsidian ventured into the heart of the shadows, ready to face whatever horrors awaited her in the depths of the old abandoned theater. The old abandoned theater stood like a silent sentinel against the backdrop of the city skyline, its crumbling facade a testament to a bygone era. Detective Nix Obsidian approached cautiously, her senses alert for any sign of danger. As she stepped through the shattered entrance, the air grew heavy with the weight of the past. The theater was a maze of shadows and echoes, the faint scent of decay mingling with the musty aroma of forgotten dreams. Nix moved with purpose, her footsteps echoing off the dilapidated walls as she searched for any sign of Shade. But the darkness seemed to swallow her whole, obscuring her vision and clouding her thoughts. "Show yourself, Shade," Nix called out, her voice echoing through the empty halls. "I'm not here to play games." There was a rustle in the shadows, and suddenly, Shade emerged from the darkness like a specter, his form shrouded in black. "You came," Shade said, his voice low and menacing. "I didn't think you had it in you." Nix squared her shoulders, her gaze steady despite the fear that gnawed at her insides. "I'm here to end this, Shade. Whatever game you're playing, it ends now." Shade chuckled, the sound sending a shiver down Nix's spine. "Oh, but the game has only just begun, Detective, and you're just a pawn in my grand design." Before Nix could respond, Shade lunged forward with a speed that defied logic, his movements fluid like water. Nix barely had time to react, her instincts kicking in as she dodged his attack with practiced ease. But Shade was relentless, his every move calculated to keep Nix off balance. With each strike, he seemed to grow stronger, his laughter echoing off the walls like the toll of a funeral bell. Nix fought with all her strength, her fists flying like lightning as she pushed herself to the brink of exhaustion. But Shade was a master of deception, his every move a riddle wrapped in a mystery. As the battle raged on, Nix felt a flicker of doubt creep into her mind. Could she truly defeat Shade? Or was he too powerful, too cunning to be defeated? But then, as if in answer to her silent prayer, a voice broke through the darkness like a ray of hope. "Nix, look out." It was Luna, her silhouette framed against the moonlit sky as she rushed to Nix's aid. In that moment, Nix knew that she was not alone, that together they could overcome any obstacle. With renewed determination, Nix and Luna fought side by side, their movements synchronized like a well-oiled machine. And as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, they emerged victorious, Shade vanquished at last. As they stood amidst the ruins of the old theater, Nix felt a sense of peace wash over her. The shadows may be vast and unforgiving, but with friends by her side, she knew that she could face whatever darkness lay ahead. The dawn brought with it a sense of calm, the city slowly stirring to life as the first rays of sunlight chased away the shadows of the night. Detective Nix Obsidian stood amidst the wreckage of the old theater, the events of the previous night still fresh in her mind. Shade was gone, defeated by Nix and Luna's combined efforts, but his legacy lingered like a stain on the fabric of the city. As Nix surveyed the scene, her mind raced with questions. What had driven Shade to darkness? And were there others like him, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike? As if sensing her thoughts, Luna approached, her expression grave. What now, Nix? Are we just going to pretend like none of this ever happened? Nix shook her head, her gaze steady as she met Luna's eyes.
No, Luna.
We can't afford to turn a blind eye to the darkness that lurks within our city. We need to shine a light on it, to expose it for what it truly is. Luna nodded, her determination mirroring Nix's own. Then let's get to work. We have a city to protect. Together, Nix and Luna returned to the precinct, their resolve stronger than ever. The battle may have been won, but the war against crime and corruption raged on, its tendrils reaching into every corner of society. As they delved into their next case, Nix couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose wash over her. She was a detective, a guardian of the night, and she would stop at nothing to ensure that justice prevailed, no matter the cost. And as she looked out over the city skyline, her heart filled with hope. For in the shadows of the night, there were always beacons of light, guiding the way for those who dared to walk the path of righteousness. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the specter of Shade continued to haunt Detective Nix Obsidian's thoughts. Despite their victory at the old theater, there was still much left unanswered, much left unresolved. Nix pored over case files and evidence, her mind racing as she searched for any clue that might lead her to the truth. But the deeper she delved, the more elusive Shade's motives became, like threads of darkness woven into the fabric of the city. One evening, as the city slept soundly in ignorance, Nix found herself poring over surveillance footage from the night of their confrontation with Shade. There was something there, a flicker of movement in the shadows that caught her eye. Zooming in on the image, Nix's heart skipped a beat. There, lurking in the darkness, was a figure she recognized all too well. "Rune," Nix whispered, her voice barely audible in the quiet of the precinct. Rune Sterling, her partner and trusted ally, stood at the edge of the frame, his features obscured by the darkness. But Nix knew him by the set of his shoulders, the tilt of his head. Had Rune been working with Shade all along? Had he betrayed her trust in the worst possible way? Nix's mind raced with questions, doubts swirling like a storm inside her head. But she knew that she couldn't jump to conclusions, couldn't let her emotions cloud her judgment. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, Nix set out to confront Rune, to uncover the truth once and for all. As she approached his desk, Nix found Rune engrossed in his work, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Rune, we need to talk," Nix said, her voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside her. Rune looked up, his gray eyes meeting Nix's with a mixture of surprise and concern. "What is it, Nix? Is everything all right?" Nix hesitated, unsure of how to broach the subject, but then she remembered the bond they shared, the trust that had carried them through countless trials. "I need to know, Rune," Nix said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Were you working with Shade?" Rune's expression softened, his features betraying a hint of sadness. "Nix, I swear to you, I had no idea. Shade approached me weeks ago, promised me information that could help us take down a major crime syndicate. I never suspected." Nix's heart sank at Rune's words, the weight of his betrayal heavy upon her shoulders. But then, she saw the sincerity in his eyes, the genuine remorse etched into his features. "I believe you, Rune," Nix said, her voice filled with conviction. "But we have to find Shade before he strikes again." Together, Nix and Rune delved deeper into the mystery of Shade, following the tangled threads of deceit and betrayal wherever they led. And as they uncovered the truth behind Shade's actions, They realized that the darkness that had once threatened to consume them had only served to strengthen their resolve. For in the end, it was not the shadows that defined them, but the light that shone from within. As Detective Nyx Obsidian and her partner Detective Rune Sterling delved deeper into the labyrinth of Shade schemes, they uncovered a trail of deception that led them to the heart of the city's underworld. Each clue, each piece of evidence, brought them closer to unraveling the tangled web of lies that had ensnared them all. With determination burning in their hearts, Nyx and Rune followed the breadcrumbs left behind by Shade, their pursuit fueled by a relentless desire for justice. But with each step forward, they found themselves faced with new challenges, new adversaries lurking in the shadows. It was during one such investigation that Nyx and Rune stumbled upon a lead that promised to shed light on Shade's true identity. A witness, a small-time crook with a penchant for gambling, had come forward with information that could blow the case wide open. As Nyx and Rune approached the seedy dive bar where the witness was rumored to be hiding, they knew that danger lurked around every corner. But they were undeterred, their resolve unwavering in the face of adversity. Inside the dimly lit bar, Nyx and Rune found themselves face to face with the witness, a jittery man with sweat beading on his brow. He spoke in hushed tones, his words tinged with fear as he recounted his encounter with Shade. "He's not like anyone I've ever seen before," the witness said, his voice trembling. "He moves like a ghost, silent and deadly, and he's got eyes that could pierce your soul." Nyx and Rune exchanged a knowing glance, their suspicions confirmed by the witness's testimony. Shade was more than just a common criminal. He was a force to be reckoned with, a shadowy figure whose true motives remained shrouded in mystery. But Nyx refused to be intimidated by Shade's threats, refused to let fear dictate her actions. With determination burning in her heart, she vowed to bring Shade to justice, no matter the cost. As they left the bar, Nyx and Rune knew that their journey was far from over. The shadows may be vast and unforgiving, but they would not rest until they had reclaimed them, until they had banished the darkness once and for all. With the witness's testimony echoing in their minds, Detective Nyx Obsidian and Detective Rune Sterling intensified their efforts to track down Shade. Every lead, every piece of evidence, brought them closer to the elusive figure who had cast a shadow over their lives. Their investigation led them to the heart of the city, to a derelict warehouse on the outskirts where Shade was rumored to be hiding. As Nyx and Rune approached the building, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Inside the warehouse, the silence was oppressive, broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. Nyx and Rune moved with caution, their senses on high alert for any sign of danger. Suddenly, a voice cut through the stillness, chilling Nyx to the bone. Well, look who decided to pay me a visit." Shade emerged from the shadows, his form shrouded in darkness as always. But there was something different about him, something in the way he held himself, in the glint of madness in his eyes. "You've been a thorn in my side for too long, Detective," Shade said, his voice dripping with malice. "But now it ends." Nyx tensed, her hand inching towards her holster as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Beside her, Rune stood tall, his resolve unyielding despite the danger that lurked before them. "We're not afraid of you, Shade," Nyx said, her voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at her insides. "We never were." Shade laughed, the sound grating on Nyx's nerves like nails on a chalkboard. "You should be, Detective. You should be very afraid." With a sudden burst of movement, Shade lunged forward, his movements fluid and unpredictable. Nyx and Rune fought with all their strength, their blows raining down like a torrential downpour as they clashed with their adversary. But Shade was a formidable opponent, his every move calculated to keep Nyx and Rune off balance. As the battle raged on, Nyx felt a flicker of doubt creep into her mind. Could they truly defeat Shade? Or was he too powerful, too cunning to be defeated? But then, as if in answer to her silent prayer, a voice broke through the chaos like a beacon of hope. "Luna!" Now, Nyx turned to see Detective Luna Frost emerge from the shadows, her eyes blazing with determination as she joined the fray. Together, the three detectives fought with a unity born from years of trust and camaraderie, their combined strength overwhelming Shade's defenses. And as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Nyx and her companions emerged victorious, Shade vanquished at last. As they stood amidst the wreckage of the warehouse, Nyx felt a sense of peace wash over her. The shadows may be vast and unforgiving, but with friends by her side, she knew that she could face whatever darkness lay ahead. With Shade defeated and the shadows dissipating, Detective Nyx Obsidian and her companions stood amidst the wreckage, their breaths heavy with exertion but hearts light with victory. Yet, amidst the triumph, unanswered questions lingered, gnawing at Nyx's mind like persistent whispers in the wind. As they made their way back to the precinct, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling of unease that nestled deep within her chest. Shade's true motives remained elusive, his actions veiled in a cloak of mystery. What had driven him to darkness? What secrets had he hidden in the shadows? Determined to uncover the truth, Nyx pored over the remnants of Shade's operations, searching for any clue that might shed light on his enigmatic past. It was during one such investigation that she stumbled upon a thread that promised to unravel the web of deceit once and for all. Buried deep within Shade's files was a name that sent a chill down Nyx's spine. Obsidian Enterprises. As Nyx delved deeper into the records, she discovered a connection that struck at the very heart of her existence. Obsidian Enterprises was a shadowy conglomerate with ties to organized crime, its influence extending far beyond the reaches of the city. Could it be possible? Could Shade's vendetta against Nyx be rooted in a deeper, more personal vendetta? With a sense of trepidation mingling with determination, Nyx confronted her past, delving into the murky waters of her family's history in search of answers. What she uncovered shook her to her core, revealing secrets long buried beneath layers of deception. Obsidian Enterprises had been a front for criminal activities for generations, its tendrils reaching into every corner of society. Nyx's own father had been a key player in the organization, his legacy tarnished by greed and corruption. But Nyx refused to be defined by the sins of her ancestors. With the support of her companions, she vowed to dismantle Obsidian Enterprises once and for all, to bring an end to the cycle of darkness that had plagued her family for generations. Armed with the truth and fueled by justice, Nyx and her allies embarked on their most dangerous mission yet, prepared to face whatever horrors awaited them in the shadows. For in the end, it was not the darkness that defined them, but the light that shone from within. As Detective Nyx Obsidian delved deeper into the dark legacy of Obsidian Enterprises, she found herself confronted with a labyrinth of deceit and betrayal. Every revelation, every piece of evidence, brought her closer to the truth, but also deeper into the shadows that had long haunted her family's name. With each passing day, Nyx felt the weight of her ancestors' sins pressing down upon her shoulders, threatening to consume her in a maelstrom of guilt and despair. But she refused to be swallowed by the darkness. She was determined to break the cycle, to redeem her family's name and bring an end to the legacy of shadows that had plagued them for generations. With the help of her trusted companions, Nyx pieced together the puzzle of Obsidian Enterprises, uncovering a network of corruption that stretched far beyond the confines of the city. From illegal arms deals to human trafficking, the organization's crimes knew no bounds. But as they closed in on their quarry, Nyx and her allies found themselves faced with a formidable adversary. The current head of Obsidian Enterprises, Nyx's own estranged brother, Damien. Damien Obsidian was a man consumed by ambition, his thirst for power driving him to unspeakable acts of cruelty. With the fate of the city hanging in the balance, Nyx knew that she would have to confront her brother, to confront the darkness that had torn their family apart. Their showdown took place in the heart of Obsidian Enterprises headquarters, a towering skyscraper that loomed over the city like a specter of death. Nyx and Damien faced off in the penthouse suite, the air thick with tension as they exchanged heated words. "You always were the favorite, Nyx," Damien spat, his voice dripping with venom. "But now, it's my turn to take what's rightfully mine." Nyx met her brother's gaze with steely resolve, her hand hovering over her holster as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation. "You may have the name, Damien, but you'll never have the honor that comes with it." With a roar of rage, Damien lunged forward, his fists flying like hammers as he unleashed a barrage of blows upon Nyx. But she was ready, her years of training honed to perfection as she deflected each strike with precision. As the battle raged on, Nyx felt a surge of adrenaline course through her veins. She was fighting not just for herself, but for all those who had suffered at the hands of Obsidian Enterprises, for all those who had been silenced by the darkness. And in the end, it was that determination, that unwavering sense of justice, that carried Nyx to victory. With one final blow, she incapacitated her brother, bringing an end to his reign of terror once and for all. As Nyx stood amidst the wreckage of the penthouse suite, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The legacy of shadows had been broken, the sins of her family laid bare for all to see. And as she looked out over the city skyline, Nyx knew that she had finally reclaimed her name, reclaiming her family's legacy from the darkness that had threatened to consume it. With Obsidian Enterprises dismantled and the legacy of shadows finally laid to rest, Detective Nyx Obsidian stood at the precipice of a new beginning. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief as the darkness that had plagued it for so long began to fade, replaced by the promise of a brighter tomorrow. But Nyx knew that the battle was far from over. With each victory came new challenges, new adversaries lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. Yet, she was undeterred, her resolve unyielding in the face of adversity. As Nyx returned to the precinct, she found herself greeted not with suspicion or doubt, but with admiration and respect. Her bravery and determination had earned her the trust of her colleagues and the gratitude of the citizens she swore to protect. But Nyx knew that she owed her success not just to herself, but to the friends and allies who had stood by her side through every trial and tribulation. Detective Rune Sterling, Detective Luna Frost, and even the unlikely witness who had first set them on the path to victory. They had all played a vital role in the fight against darkness. Together, they had faced down the shadows that threatened to consume them, emerging stronger and more united than ever before. And as they looked out over the city skyline, Nyx felt a sense of pride wash over her. For in the end, it was not the darkness that defined them, but the light that shone from within. As Nyx stepped out into the bustling streets of the city, she knew that the journey was far from over. But with courage in her heart and justice as her guide, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And as she walked into the light of a new day, Nyx Obsidian knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. In the aftermath of the battle against the darkness that had plagued the city for so long, Detective Nyx Obsidian found herself grappling with the echoes of the past. Though Obsidian Enterprises had been dismantled and her family's legacy reclaimed, there were wounds that ran deeper than any physical scars. As Nyx walked the streets of the city she swore to protect, she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease gnawing at her insides. The shadows may have retreated for now, but she knew that they were never truly gone, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for an opportunity to strike once more. With each passing day, Nyx found herself haunted by memories of the battles she had fought, the lives she had saved, and the sacrifices she had made along the way. But amidst the turmoil, she also found moments of solace, moments of hope that whispered of a brighter future. It was during one such moment of reflection that Nyx received an unexpected visitor at the precinct, a young woman with eyes that held a spark of defiance and determination. "Detective Obsidian, I need your help," the woman said, her voice steady despite the fear that flickered in her gaze. Nyx studied her carefully, sensing a familiar resolve burning within her. "What's your name, kid?" The woman hesitated for a moment before responding. "My name is Eve. Eve Blackwood." The name sent a shiver down Nyx's spine, stirring memories of a case long thought closed. Eve Blackwood was the daughter of a notorious crime lord, a young woman with a past as shadowed as Nix's own. As Eve recounted her tale, Nix felt a sense of déjà vu wash over her. The parallels between their lives were impossible to ignore, their struggles mirroring each other in ways Nix had never imagined. But as Eve spoke of her desire for redemption, Nix knew that she couldn't turn her back on her. She saw in Eve a chance for redemption, a chance to break free from the cycle of violence and darkness that had ensnared them both. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, Nix vowed to help Eve find the light amidst the shadows, to guide her on a path towards a brighter future. For in the end, Nix knew that redemption was not just a journey. It was a choice that each of them would have to make for themselves. As Detective Nix Obsidian embarked on a new journey with Eve Blackwood, she couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows of the past were creeping ever closer. Despite their best efforts to move forward, the echoes of their past continued to resurface, threatening to pull them back into the darkness they had fought so hard to escape. Nix knew that she couldn't ignore the signs any longer. There were forces at work, unseen and insidious, that sought to unravel the fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve. But she refused to let fear dictate her actions. She had faced down the darkness before, and she would do so again. With Eve by her side, Nix delved deeper into the mysteries that surrounded them, determined to uncover the truth no matter the cost. Together, they followed a trail of breadcrumbs that led them to the heart of the city's underworld, where danger lurked around every corner. It was during one such investigation that Nix received a cryptic message, a warning from an unknown source that sent chills down her spine. "The shadows are rising, detective. Beware the darkness that lurks within." Nix knew that they were running out of time. The city was on the brink of chaos, teetering on the edge of an abyss from which there might be no return. But she refused to give in to despair. She had faced down the darkness before, and she would do so again. As Nix and Eve raced against the clock, they found themselves drawn into a web of lies and deceit that stretched far beyond their wildest imaginations. They uncovered a conspiracy that threatened to tear the city apart, orchestrated by a shadowy figure known only as the Puppet Master. With each revelation, Nix felt a sense of dread settle over her like a suffocating blanket. The Puppet Master was a master manipulator, pulling the strings from the shadows with a cunning that defied comprehension. But Nix was determined not to let the Puppet Master succeed. With Eve by her side, she vowed to unravel the conspiracy and bring the true mastermind to justice, no matter the cost. For in the end, Nix knew that the only way to defeat the darkness was to confront it head-on, to shine a light into the deepest recesses of the shadows and expose the truth for all to see. As Detective Nix Obsidian delved deeper into the conspiracy orchestrated by the enigmatic Puppet Master, she found herself embroiled in a deadly game of cat and mouse. With each step forward, the Puppet Master seemed to anticipate their moves, always one step ahead, lurking in the shadows like a ghost. But Nix refused to be deterred. With Eve Blackwood by her side, she continued to pursue the truth with unwavering determination. Together, they followed a labyrinth of clues and false leads, their journey taking them to the darkest corners of the city. It was during one such investigation that Nix stumbled upon a revelation that shook her to her core. The Puppet Master's true identity was none other than a high-ranking official within the city's government, a figure of authority who had used their position to manipulate events from behind the scenes. As Nix pieced together the puzzle of the Puppet Master's machinations, she realized that the conspiracy ran deeper than she had ever imagined. The Puppet Master's influence extended far beyond the city's borders, reaching into the highest echelons of power. With the stakes higher than ever, Nix knew that she couldn't face the Puppet Master alone. She needed allies, trusted allies who shared her commitment to justice and were willing to stand by her side no matter the cost. Together with Eve and a select few of her closest confidants, Nix hatched a daring plan to expose the Puppet Master's crimes and bring them to justice. They would shine a light into the darkest corners of the city, revealing the truth for all to see. But as they prepared to confront the puppet master head-on, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. The puppet master was a master manipulator, and they would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. As the appointed hour approached, Nyx steeled herself for the battle that lay ahead. She knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but she also knew that she couldn't afford to back down now. For in the end, it was not just her own life that hung in the balance, but the fate of the entire city. As Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies prepared to confront the puppet master, a sense of anticipation hung heavy in the air. They knew that the stakes had never been higher, that the outcome of their confrontation could determine the fate of the entire city. With Eve Blackwood and their trusted companions at her side, Nyx felt a flicker of hope amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf them. They had faced down their fears before, and they would do so again, no matter the cost. As they approached the puppet master's lair, a sprawling mansion hidden away in the heart of the city, Nyx felt a sense of foreboding wash over her. The building loomed before them like a fortress, its walls shrouded in darkness, its secrets hidden from prying eyes. But Nyx refused to let fear dictate her actions. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, she led her companions into the heart of the lion's den, prepared to face whatever horrors awaited them within. As they made their way through the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The puppet master was a master of deception, and they knew that their every move was being scrutinized from the shadows. But Nyx pressed on, her senses sharp and her resolve unyielding. They had come too far to turn back now, and she would see this through to the end, no matter the cost. Finally, they reached the heart of the mansion, a grand chamber bathed in shadow, where the puppet master awaited them, their true identity hidden behind a mask of darkness. "So, you've come at last," the puppet master said, their voice echoing off the walls like a sinister whisper. "I must admit, I didn't expect you to make it this far." Nyx met the puppet master's gaze with steely resolve, her hand hovering over her holster as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation. "Your reign of terror ends here, puppet master. It's time to face the consequences of your actions." But the puppet master only laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Nyx's spine. "You think you can stop me, detective? You're just a pawn in my grand design, a mere obstacle to be overcome." With a sudden burst of movement, the puppet master lunged forward, their true form revealed at last. A figure clad in darkness, their features obscured by a mask of shadows. As Nyx and her allies fought for their lives, the true extent of the puppet master's power became clear. They were no match for the darkness that consumed them, their every move countered with ruthless precision. But Nyx refused to give up hope. With Eve by her side and their companions fighting at their back, they stood against the puppet master with unwavering resolve, their determination burning brighter than ever before. And as the final blow was struck and the puppet master lay defeated at their feet, Nyx felt a sense of relief wash over her. The shadows may have won this battle, but the light of justice would always prevail in the end. With the puppet master defeated and the city safe once more, Detective Nyx Obsidian thought that the darkness had finally been vanquished. But as she soon discovered, the shadows were not so easily dispelled. In the weeks that followed their victory, a new threat emerged from the depths of the city, an underground syndicate known only as the Nightshade Collective. Rumors whispered of their nefarious deeds, their tendrils reaching into every corner of society like the fingers of a grasping shadow. Nyx knew that they couldn't afford to let the Nightshade Collective gain a foothold in the city. With Eve Blackwood and their allies at her side, she vowed to bring an end to their reign of terror once and for all. But as they delved deeper into the mysteries surrounding the Nightshade Collective, Nyx realized that they were facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. The collective operated with ruthless efficiency, their operations cloaked in secrecy and shadow. With each revelation, Nyx felt the weight of responsibility bearing down upon her. The safety of the city rested in her hands, and she knew that failure was not an option. As they pursued leads and followed clues, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the Nightshade Collective was always one step ahead. But she refused to let fear dictate her actions. She was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Finally, their investigation led them to a hidden warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a den of iniquity where the Nightshade Collective conducted their darkest dealings. With Eve and their allies by her side, Nyx stormed the warehouse, prepared to face whatever horrors awaited them within. But what they found was beyond anything they could have imagined. The warehouse was empty, devoid of life save for a single figure standing in the center of the room. A woman cloaked in shadows, her features hidden from view. "You're too late, detective," the woman said, her voice echoing off the walls like a mournful dirge. "The Nightshade Collective cannot be stopped. We are the darkness that lurks within us all, and we will never be extinguished." But Nyx refused to back down. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, she confronted the woman, prepared to face whatever dangers lay ahead. As they clashed in a battle of wills and wits, Nyx realized that the true enemy was not the Nightshade Collective, but the darkness that lurked within each of them. It was a battle that could not be won with fists or weapons, but with courage and conviction. And as the final blow was struck and the woman lay defeated at their feet, Nyx knew that the fight against the shadows would never truly be over. But with Eve and their allies by her side, she was ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that the light of justice would always prevail in the end. The defeat of the Nightshade Collective was a hard-won victory, but Detective Nyx Obsidian knew all too well that the shadows were never truly banished. As she and Eve Blackwood surveyed the aftermath of their latest confrontation, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were merely scratching the surface of a much deeper darkness. With the city on edge and rumors swirling, Nyx knew that they needed to act swiftly to prevent the seeds of fear from taking root once more. Together with their allies, they delved deeper into the underworld, determined to root out any remaining traces of the Nightshade Collective's influence. But as they pursued their investigation, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that there were forces at work beyond their understanding. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, swirling and shifting around them, concealing the true extent of the danger that lurked within. Their search led them to a forgotten corner of the city, a crumbling tenement building that seemed to have been swallowed by the darkness. As Nyx and Eve ventured inside, they found themselves confronted by a sight that chilled them to the bone. The building was a hive of activity, teeming with criminals and ne'er-do-wells of every stripe. But at the center of it all stood a figure shrouded in darkness, their presence commanding respect and fear in equal measure. Nyx recognized them at once, the leader of the Nightshade Collective, their true identity finally revealed. "We meet again, detective," the figure said, their voice like the whisper of the wind through the trees. "I must admit, I didn't expect you to survive our last encounter." Nyx met their gaze with steely resolve, her hand hovering over her holster as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation. "Your reign of terror ends here, Nightshade. We won't let you spread your darkness any further." But the Nightshade only laughed, a cold, mocking sound that sent shivers down Nyx's spine. "You think you can stop me, detective? You and your little band of misfits? You're no match for the power of the shadows." With a sudden burst of movement, the Nightshade lunged forward, their form merging with the darkness as they attacked Nyx and Eve with all the fury of a tempest unleashed. But Nyx was ready, her years of training honed to perfection as she fought back with all the skill and determination at her disposal. As they clashed in a battle that seemed to rage on for eternity, Nyx realized that the true strength of the shadows lay not in their darkness, but in their resilience. They were a force to be reckoned with, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to be consumed by fear. And as the final blow was struck and the Nightshade lay defeated at their feet, Nyx knew that their fight was far from over. The shadows may be relentless, but so too were they, and together they would continue to stand against the darkness, no matter the cost. With the Nightshade Collective defeated once and for all, Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies breathed a cautious sigh of relief. Yet, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more lurking in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. As they regrouped at the precinct, Nyx pored over the evidence they had gathered, searching for any lingering traces of the darkness that had threatened to consume them. It was then that she stumbled upon a clue, a cryptic message hidden within the depths of the Nightshade's encrypted files. The true shadows lie within. The words sent a chill down Nyx's spine, stirring a sense of unease that she couldn't shake. What did it mean? And more importantly, who was behind it? With a sense of determination burning in her heart, Nyx delved deeper into the mystery, following a trail of breadcrumbs that led her to the heart of the city's financial district. There, she uncovered a web of corruption that stretched far beyond the reaches of the underworld, reaching into the highest echelons of power. It was then that Nyx realized the true extent of the darkness that threatened to engulf the city. The shadows were not just the work of criminals and ne'er-do-wells. They were a symptom of a much deeper rot that had taken hold within the very heart of society itself. With the truth laid bare before her, Nyx knew that she couldn't face this new threat alone. She needed allies, trusted allies who shared her commitment to justice and were willing to stand by her side no matter the cost. Together with Eve Blackwood and their closest confidants, Nyx hatched a daring plan to expose the corruption that lay at the root of the city's woes. They would shine a light into the darkest corners of society, revealing the truth for all to see. But as they prepared to confront the true shadows that lurked within, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. The forces arrayed against them were powerful and cunning, and they would stop at nothing to protect their secrets. Yet Nyx refused to back down. With courage in her heart and justice as her guide, she led her allies into battle, prepared to face whatever dangers lay ahead. For in the end, Nyx knew that the fight against the shadows was far from over. But with Eve and their allies by her side, she was ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that the light of justice would always prevail in the end. As Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies delved deeper into the web of corruption that plagued the city, they found themselves confronting adversaries far more formidable than they had ever imagined. The true shadows that lurked within society were not easily vanquished. They were entrenched in power and influence, their tendrils reaching into every corner of the city. With each revelation, Nyx felt a sense of despair creeping into her heart. The forces they were up against seemed insurmountable, their grip on the city unyielding. But she refused to let fear dictate her actions. She had faced down darkness before, and she would do so again. Together with Eve Blackwood and their allies, Nyx pursued the truth with unwavering determination, following a trail of breadcrumbs that led them to the highest echelons of power. It was there, amidst the corridors of government and wealth, that they uncovered the true face of the shadows that threatened to engulf them. The city's most revered figures, the pillars of society, the guardians of justice, were revealed to be nothing more than puppets dancing to the tune of a corrupt elite. Behind closed doors, deals were struck, lives were ruined, and the true extent of the darkness that lay within society was laid bare for all to see. With the evidence in hand, Nyx knew that they had a chance to bring the true perpetrators of the city's woes to justice. But the road ahead would be fraught with danger, and Nyx knew that they couldn't afford to make any mistakes. As they prepared to confront the corrupt elite head-on, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. The shadows were watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. But Nyx refused to back down. With Eve and their allies by her side, she was ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. And as they confronted the true face of the shadows that lurked within society, Nyx felt a sense of peace wash over her. The battle may have been long and arduous, but in the end, justice would prevail. As Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies prepared to confront the corrupt elite that lurked within society, a sense of anticipation hung heavy in the air. They knew that the battle ahead would be their most challenging yet, but they were determined to see it through to the end. With Eve Blackwood and their closest confidants by her side, Nyx stood before the doors of power, ready to confront the shadows that had plagued the city for far too long. But as they prepared to enter, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a trap. The corridors of power were a maze of deceit and betrayal, and Nyx knew that they would need to tread carefully if they were to succeed. With each step forward, they were met with resistance, their every move countered by the forces arrayed against them. But Nyx refused to be deterred. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, she pressed on, her eyes fixed on the prize that lay ahead, the truth. As they delved deeper into the heart of the city's power structure, Nyx and her allies uncovered evidence of corruption on a scale they had never imagined. The city's most revered figures, the pillars of society, the guardians of justice, were revealed to be nothing more than puppets dancing to the tune of a corrupt elite. With each revelation, Nyx felt a surge of anger coursing through her veins. The people they had trusted to protect the city were the very ones responsible for its downfall, but she refused to let her emotions cloud her judgment. She knew that they needed to stay focused if they were to succeed. Finally, they reached the inner sanctum of power, a lavish ballroom where the city's elite gathered to celebrate their ill-gotten gains. As Nyx and her allies stepped into the room, all eyes turned to them, the whispers of the crowd echoing like a chorus of ghosts. But Nyx stood tall, her gaze unwavering as she addressed the assembled throng. "The time has come for the shadows to be exposed," she declared, her voice ringing out with conviction. "No longer will we allow corruption to flourish unchecked. The people deserve better, and we will not rest until justice is served." With that, Nyx and her allies presented the evidence they had gathered, laying bare the truth for all to see. The room erupted into chaos as the corrupt elite scrambled to cover their tracks, but Nyx remained steadfast, her resolve unshakable. And as the dust settled and the truth was revealed, Nyx felt a sense of satisfaction wash over her. The shadows that had plagued the city for so long had been exposed, their power broken by the light of justice. With the truth laid bare and the corrupt elite exposed, Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies stood on the precipice of a new era for the city. The shadows that had long plagued society had been cast aside, their power broken by the relentless pursuit of justice. But as Nyx surveyed the city skyline from the precinct rooftop, she couldn't shake the feeling that their victory was only the beginning. The wounds inflicted by years of corruption ran deep, and healing would take time. Yet, Nyx was determined to see it through. With Eve Blackwood and their allies at her side, Nyx embarked on a mission to rebuild the city from the ground up. They worked tirelessly to root out the remaining vestiges of corruption, to restore trust and confidence in the institutions that had failed the people they swore to protect. But as they worked to mend the fabric of society, Nyx couldn't help but wonder what legacy the shadows would leave behind. The scars they had inflicted were a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within, a reminder that the fight for justice was never truly over. Yet, amidst the challenges they faced, Nyx found moments of hope, small victories that served as beacons of light in the darkness. From the conviction of corrupt officials to the gratitude of the people they had sworn to serve, Nyx knew that their efforts were making a difference. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Nyx and her allies continued their tireless pursuit of justice, each step bringing them closer to their ultimate goal, a city free from the shadows that had long held it captive. And as Nyx looked out over the city skyline once more, she knew that their journey was far from over. But with courage in her heart and justice as her guide, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that the legacy of the shadows would soon fade into memory. As Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies worked tirelessly to rebuild the city and root out the last remnants of corruption, they knew that their fight was not yet over. The shadows may have been cast aside, but there were still those who sought to sow chaos and discord in their wake. One such adversary emerged from the depths of the underworld, a figure shrouded in mystery, their identity unknown, their motives unclear. Nyx sensed their presence like a dark cloud looming on the horizon, a storm waiting to break. With each passing day, the threat grew more ominous, their actions more brazen. It seemed as though they were always one step ahead, their plans unfolding with ruthless efficiency. But Nyx refused to be intimidated. With Eve Blackwood and their allies at her side, she delved deep into the heart of the underworld, determined to uncover the truth behind their adversaries' machinations. Their journey led them to the darkest corners of the city, where danger lurked around every corner. But Nyx pressed on, her determination unwavering in the face of adversity. Finally, they reached their adversary's lair, a fortress hidden away in the depths of the city's labyrinthine sewers. As Nyx and her allies ventured inside, they were met with a sight that chilled them to the bone. The fortress was a hive of activity, teeming with criminals and ne'er-do-wells of every stripe. But at the center of it all stood their adversary, a figure clad in shadows, their true identity hidden from view. "You've come far, detective," the figure said, their voice a sinister whisper that sent shivers down Nyx's spine. "But you will go no further. This city belongs to the shadows, and we will not be so easily vanquished." But Nyx refused to back down. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, she confronted their adversary, prepared to face whatever dangers lay ahead. As they clashed in a battle that seemed to rage on for eternity, Nyx realized that the true strength of the shadows lay not in their darkness, but in their resilience. They were a force to be reckoned with, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to be consumed by fear. And as the final blow was struck and their adversary lay defeated at their feet, Nyx knew that their fight was far from over. The shadows may be relentless, but so too were they, and together they would continue to stand against the darkness, no matter the cost. With their adversary defeated and the city once again safe from the clutches of darkness, Detective Nyx Obsidian and her allies breathed a cautious sigh of relief. Yet, Nyx knew all too well that the shadows were never truly banished. They merely waited, biding their time until they could rise again. As they regrouped at the precinct, Nyx couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the air. There was a sense of foreboding, a whisper of danger on the wind that told her their victory was only temporary. With Eve Blackwood and their trusted allies at her side, Nyx embarked on a mission to fortify the city against the inevitable return of the shadows. They worked tirelessly to strengthen their defenses, to root out any lingering traces of corruption that threatened to take hold once more. But as they delved deeper into their investigations, Nyx realized that their adversary was far more cunning than they had ever imagined. They left no trace, no clue to their whereabouts, leaving Nyx and her allies grasping at shadows. Yet Nyx refused to be deterred. With a sense of determination burning in her heart, she pressed on, her eyes fixed on the horizon as she prepared for the battle that lay ahead. As they patrolled the streets, Nyx and her allies uncovered signs of unrest. A whisper here, a murmured conversation there. It seemed that the shadows were stirring once more, their presence a constant reminder of the danger that lurked just beyond the city's borders. With each passing day, Nyx felt the weight of responsibility bearing down upon her. The safety of the city rested in her hands, and she knew that failure was not an option. But Nyx refused to give in to despair. With Eve and their allies by her side, she stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that together they could overcome even the darkest of shadows. And as they braced themselves for the inevitable confrontation, Nyx knew that their fight was far from over. But with courage in her heart and justice as her guide, she was ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that the light of justice would always prevail in the end. Lesson: the battle against the shadows is an ongoing struggle, one that requires courage, resilience, and unwavering determination. And though the road may be long and fraught with danger, with the support of those we trust, we can overcome even the greatest of challenges. Months had passed since the last whispers of darkness had echoed through the city streets. Detective Nyx Obsidian stood on the rooftop of the precinct, watching as the first rays of dawn painted the sky with hues of gold and pink. It was a new day, a day free from the shadows that had plagued the city for so long. With Eve Blackwood and their allies at her side, Nyx surveyed the city skyline with a sense of peace in her heart. The wounds inflicted by years of corruption were slowly healing, and the people had begun to reclaim their sense of hope and optimism. But Nyx knew that their victory had come at a cost. There were scars, both seen and unseen, that would linger long after the shadows had faded into memory. Yet, she took solace in the knowledge that they had emerged stronger, more resilient than ever before. As Nyx turned to leave the rooftop, she felt a sense of gratitude wash over her. Gratitude for the unwavering support of her allies, for the resilience of the people they had sworn to protect, and for the opportunity to make a difference in the world. And as she descended the stairs to rejoin her comrades, Nyx knew that their journey was far from over. There would always be new challenges to face, new battles to fight. But with courage in their hearts and justice as their guide, they would face whatever the future held together, secure in the knowledge that the light of justice would always prevail in the end.